Welcome to today's episode of our Dollars and Cents podcast. If you are listening to the Dollars and Cents podcast for the first time, it's a show where we get people to discuss some of the most interesting finance topics. And for today's episode, we are exploring the 5 C's of Singapore. Joining me today to discuss this topic is Dinesh from the Dollars and Cents editorial team and someone who has been exploring and writing about this topic. Dinesh, welcome to the show.
Happy to be on the show. Always happy to discuss finance topics that pulls at Singaporeans' heartstrings and also purse strings at the same time.
All right, so for those of you who are younger than Dinesh and I, or you're not from Singapore, you might be wondering what the 5 C's are. This term, coined in the 1990s, encapsulates the aspirational and materialistic desires of Singapore society during that time. And according to Wikipedia, a website that some of us trust, it's first coined as a popular observational joke during the 1990s about the aspirations of some Singaporeans that exhibit materialistic tendencies by constantly seeking to obtain material possession in an effort to impress others. Quite a tongue twister. But I think the key word here is 2 keywords actually: materialistic tendencies, and it's a popular observational joke, which means if you are hearing it for the first time, it's meant to, it's a casual joke. We're not saying that the 5 C's are important. It's just some form of, just a casual remark on what people think about. So, Dinesh, can I just ask you to explain what the original 5 C's refer to?
Okay, I'm going to go back a little bit and say, my first interaction with this term actually came from the 90s itself. We are that old, right? So I remember my mom, she used to love watching those Chinese television shows, and then there was this show, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, like Wu Si Lao Gong, right? So it's like a 5C husband. So that was my first interaction with the term.
I remember that show also actually, you mentioned it.
And before that, I never heard about it. And then only after that, it became popularized, I guess because of that popular show as well. And then obviously, after watching that show, it changed your perception a little bit, or at least it had an impact on your perception. So just to answer your question a little bit more clearly, the 5 C's, at least the traditional, or back then the 5 C's, credit cards, cash, country club, condominium, and car, right? I think quite, like what you mentioned, quite aspirational, a little bit of a show of status symbol as well.
It might have come from a show. No one knows for sure who actually coined the 5 C's. So it could actually be that Chinese show that you and your mom watch, that you also watch, which I also watch. But I would say that people must have been able to relate to those 5 C's in the show, which is why it became popular, right?
Yeah. Now I think like what you mentioned, right? And even Wikipedia says it is a material aspiration. So there's lifestyle aspiration and maybe material aspiration. And I think this conversation might easily get us into the backlash of being cancelled, but I think we should still discuss it quite openly. Back then maybe we weren't as rich. Okay, this is already about 30 years ago, right? 1990s. Maybe we were still developing as a country. Maybe we weren't rich enough as a nation. So maybe materialistic desires was a little bit more prevalent back then. And maybe now, having achieved some of that wealth, I think we are commonly cited as some of the richest GDP in the world. Maybe we can afford to be a little bit more lifestyle-centric in the way we think about our lives.
Yeah, and you actually wrote an article recently about the 5 C's. And I mean, you gave an interview on CNA, but you also wrote an article about the 5 C's, and that is why the Singapore dream is no longer about credit cards, country clubs, and cash. So I guess, by saying that, you are omitting 3 of the C's. You're saying that credit card, country clubs, and cash are no longer applicable. And I just want to start off by asking you about, credit cards. I mean, credit cards used to be a status symbol, right? Because as most of you probably know, you need a minimum income. In Singapore, MAS has already set that as $30,000 per annum, so that before you can apply for a credit card, right? So it used to be a status symbol, but today I think most of us see them as common financial tools, right? And it used to be that if you have multiple credit cards, oh wow, you must be doing well. But let's be real, if I earn 30,000 today, I can have 10 credit cards, because it's not like you have to pay to own a credit card, right? Most of the time, applying for a credit card is free. You may be able to get the renewal, the fee waiver, and they are more like common financial tools today to pay for services and products we buy. So what does it say about the wealth and status of Singapore that credit cards are no longer seen as a mechanism or as a tool that only rich people have?
I think most of us today at least see credit cards as a financial tool, right? No longer as a status symbol, for sure. I don't know about back then, but today $30,000 it just means about $2,500 monthly income. That is about half of the median income actually today, right? So I think most of us, a lot of Singaporeans.
I mean, fresh grad salary from local universities, I think like mid 3,000.
So once you start working, you can apply for one already. So I'm not sure how difficult it was to apply for one back then. I was a kid. But again, I would like to start off with an example. When I was growing up, whenever we went to a restaurant or whenever we went out, one of my uncles used to pull out his wallet and then he had like a bunch of credit cards. And
impressive,
then,
right?
I'm not sure why I was impressed, but I guess since my own parents didn't walk around with so many credit cards, I thought, pretty cool. He had so many credit cards and he could choose which ones he wants to use. And he used to talk about it as well, so maybe that part of it is like, he decided it was a status symbol. And back then, I guess since 5Cs was a thing, everyone realized it was a status symbol. But today we see it as a common financial tool. When we go out, we just use it to pay for something. In fact, I would like to go one step further and say, people who have too many credit cards today, we know they're trying to hack their lifestyle in a bit. So I'm not sure whether that's a status symbol or a symbol that you're trying to hack
it's
something.
It's a strategy, right? It's more of a strategy.
Correct.
If you have multiple credit cards, it's more because you want to optimize your miles, your cashback, your points, rather than
it's nothing to do with
symbol.
Status anymore, I would say.
Yeah. Do you think the shift in perception of credit card ownership, because I know a lot of younger people these days, maybe when we graduated 10 years ago, the first thing we do was to apply for a credit card because it obviously is convenient to have a credit card and you earn points and miles, as what you say. But I know a lot of younger people don't actually try to apply for a credit card. So do you think the shift in perception of credit card ownership reflects a deeper change in our society's value, which, in other words, do young people not care about credit card anymore?
Yeah. No, I think like what I say, I'll just go back to I think we see it as a financial tool today.
We, not the younger people.
Yeah,
right?
No, it's still a financial tool, right? Maybe we at our age use it because we grew up using it, and I use it for my public transport fare as well. Nothing to do with status anymore. I'm taking public transport, I'm just tapping it, right? The younger folks also view it as a financial tool. Maybe they don't need that. Maybe they have other financial tools. They have mobile wallets, they have BNP or whatever it may be. They also view it as a financial tool, but maybe one that they don't need.
Right, and there's no need to apply for a credit card to show that, hey, I got a good paying job anymore, because nobody actually cares.
Yeah, I would say this with a caveat that there are still certain credit cards out there that you whip out, this is not a credit
usually
card
the
that
non-plastic
is
kind.
on the website. You can't find it on the website of Amex or on the website of some of these banks.
Amex,
right?
Shout out to Amex now. There is the metal card, I guess, that is still could be seen as a status symbol.
Yeah,
right?
the black one.
Yeah. So, thanks for sharing. I think I just want to go on to the next thing, which you omitted from your new 5Cs, which is country clubs. And, we all know that in Singapore, country clubs are no longer as attractive. And, there's many places you can go to if you want to swim, you want to go to a gym, or you want to go to a restaurant, right? It's everywhere. You don't need a country club membership. So, country club used to be a hallmark of the elites, but these clubs are clearly losing their appeal. But maybe just take you back to the 90s. Dinesh, can you explain why, to our younger audience especially, why there's prestige about country clubs in the first place?
Country clubs is a strange one. I think back then, people see it as a place to do business. I think at least me growing up saw it as a place, you go for business meetings, you bring your clients, you play golf, you do some business networking. That's where, the deals, the hush-hush deals are made. That's the kind of impression we had growing up. But today, as people in our mid-30s or slightly older than that even, I have not a country club membership, but I have a recreational club membership. The differences, I guess, we can discuss in another article or topic. But I no longer see it as, hey, I want to bring people that I want to network for business there. I just want to have that membership so I can swim there. I can bring my kids to learn swimming there. I can play some sports there. I can bring my kids to play some sports there. We can have dinner there. It's our maybe a monthly get-together for dinners. I see it as a very lifestyle recreational thing, and it didn't cost the 5-6 kind of figures to get that membership.
At least the ones that don't have a golf course.
Correct. And then the other side of it is, even the ones that have a golf course, they're losing their sheen a little bit because the government is taking back some of these lands. I'm not sure how much of a status symbol it is to see yourself having to fight over whether you can renew a land lease anymore.
Yeah. No, I guess also one of those things that I would say is that back then in the 90s, we don't have as much shopping malls and gyms in the public. I mean, like gyms where you can just sign up.
And the
go
quality,
go for it.
I think what you're trying to say is the quality and
Those
variety
gyms.
as
Because
well.
I know
right?
like most like good gyms in the CBD now are probably way nicer, way better than your country club gym, right? And talk about restaurants. I mean, like surely you can find a better restaurant in the shopping mall or like somewhere in a cafe or some of these hipster place than a old school country club, right? So there's no reason to eat in a country club.
Yes.
And same for the swimming pool, I guess.
Yeah. And arguably, even middle income Singaporeans, I think many of them own cars and they can drive up to Malaysia to play a game of golf if they really want. That access is no longer prohibitive anymore.
Yeah. Got it. The last of the C's that we say that no longer applicable is cash, right? So cash, I mean, it was or used to be, maybe still is the universal symbol of wealth, but it's also changing in its significance in Singapore. And I just want to ask you, what does the shift from valuing physical cash to seeking financial freedom and choice signifies for Singaporeans today? It's showing, I'm not saying I have it, but it's showing $100,000 in my bank account, just not as impressive anymore.
Okay, yeah, I think part of what the 5 C's was is that I think last time, not many of us have financial products, right? Like your bank account, you can't transfer so easily, you can't pay for things so easily. So you need cash whenever you go out. So that physical show of cash whenever you go out.
Like a wallet that has
correct.
a lot of money.
So another example is that whenever we went for dinner as kids, right? So my dad will make sure that he has enough cash in his wallet. He doesn't want to go there and then we order a bit too much and then he falls short a little bit, then have to go to the ATM and find somewhere. So I think it's that physical show of cash when we were growing up. Today, I have no shame going to a kind of a higher end restaurant without having enough money in my wallet.
No, just a funny story, right? I think just now we were having our Chinese New Year lunch,
which
TikTok
is also
video.
why we are both wearing red. Yeah,
materialistic, aspirational also. So we were just having our Chinese New Year lunch, and then we had a TikTok video we wanted to do, and I realized that we tried to find an extra $50 notes, and Dinesh, as well as a lot of people in the company, didn't have enough cash in their wallet, right, to actually contribute to the TikTok video, which I guess there's nothing embarrassing about that anymore, right? It just shows that we're going cashless.
Yeah,
if anything.
Correct. So, and then back to your point, right? I think cash is still valued as a status symbol, right? Of course, you have more cash, there's more power, there's more spending power, let alone power, right? You can just spend more already. So I think the way we show that though is a lot different, right? We don't have that physical cash in our wallet anymore, but it's in the ability to afford things, right?
Yep.
Can we afford frequent travel holidays? Can we afford a car? Can we afford a prestigious car? Can we afford a very nice postal code, that we live in? Right? So I think it's the show of what we can do with the cash. So people know that we have cash without seeing our cash.
So it's more like money is still important, but cash, especially cash in your wallet, is just not so impressive.
Yeah. Yeah, and maybe I was going to say no spoilers to the last C that we want to introduce, but that cash gives you that choice to live your life a little bit in the way that you want to, rather than just having that cash to pay for things.
So there's 2 C's that, at least Dinesh think is still relevant today in the 5 C's of Singaporeans, which is car and condo. So car and condos are the 2 C's that remain. Why do you feel they are still material aspirations that Singaporeans would want?
I think even from back then, they have become even more out of reach, if I can say. I'm not sure. Maybe the people back then, my parents' generation, also it was out of reach, but to me, it's still out of reach. So unlike a credit card or unlike cash or even financial products or recreation club, which I am a member of as well, these 2 things are still quite out of reach for the median income Singaporean.
In fact, it's even more out of reach, right? I would say, because I don't have the stats right now, but a lot of people say that, compared to the 80s or the 90s HDB flat, and I say this carefully because I know it's a sensitive topic, but some people think that HDB flats are less affordable now relative to the median income today than it was in the 90s or the 80s.
Yeah. So that's why I think these 2 still stick, and the fact of having it is already a status symbol. You have achieved it, you've shown me that you can afford it.
Buying a condo, buying a car.
And I think to layer upon that, it is also kind of a lifestyle that people want to live. It's not only the status symbol. So I'll layer everything on today with the lifestyle people still want to live. That car affords them that convenience. It's convenient to do it. That condo allows them to live in a more luxurious postal code, but also the facilities that it gives them, that gym at home, that swimming pool down your block. Yeah, so it's the lifestyle that you want to live as well.
Yeah, agree. I mean, as we lose some of the C's, we also gain on, we think we want other C's, right? So I think, Dinesh, in your article, you mentioned 3 new C's that I think, I also agree that I think a lot of Singaporeans care about. These 3 C's are career, community, and choice, right? So I just want to start with career, right? So if I may say, a career used to be a job, right? I think in the past, when I see my parents go to work, I think to myself, they have a job, they're going to their job, right? A means to an end, right? A good job, it typically gives you the money so that you can afford the rest of the 5 C's. So I just want to ask you, why do you think career by itself is now a C? Because it used to be a job to afford the other 5 C's, but now you're saying that it's a C on its own.
Yeah. So I think the career that you do, it allows you to interact with people on a daily basis as well. You want to talk about your job. I think last time, when you were mentioning, your parents, maybe our parents' generation, it's a means to an end, right? Maybe they weren't, and I say this carefully as well, I'm well aware that we may get cancelled or I may get cancelled.
No, I mean, maybe it's our parents that we feel like they have a job.
Yeah.
But, it may not be representative of every parent back in the 90s,
Correct,
right?
And so discussing what they do wasn't maybe something that they wish to do. They just want to work, and then at the end of work, that's where their life starts, right?
That's true. That's true.
Today, our career is where our life starts. We wake up, we go to work, that's where our life starts actually. We want to do the things where we're happy to do the things. And I think we're lucky to be in Singapore. We have that choice of, going to a career that we enjoy, want to. Even if we earn a little bit less, it's not prohibitive in our lifestyle. It's still able to afford us a decent standard of living, even if we want to earn a little bit less, but do what we love.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with you because I think like for us, the millennial generation and even the Gen Zs today, we definitely don't think of our career as just a job. We want to, it's not necessarily all about the money. A lot of people do want to enjoy their job. They do want to talk about their job. I can kind of remember for my parents, they are working class, and you said something which is true. They don't exactly want to always talk about their job when they get home.
Yeah.
But today, I talk about what I do to the people or whoever wants to hear it, right? So I guess on its own, it's a C, right? That's what we're saying here. I just want to touch on community as well. So, I mean, community is an interesting one because, when you talk about materialistic aspiration, I don't see how community, there doesn't feel like there's any materialism to it. What do you mean when you say community?
I mean, it's a little bit of a stretch, I do agree, but just bear with me for a second, just go down this journey with me. Like, look, if you have kids today, a lot of people say kids are expensive to start off with. So having kids on its own is kind of like a status symbol that you can afford a kid. Then what your kid can do, right? Are you sending your kids to enrichment classes? What kind of enrichment classes? What kind of activities your kids are participating in? It's also a reflection on, your status in a way, and also your choices. You can give them the ability
kind
to
of
do
like
these things.
The community.
Yeah. So
right.
I'm stretching the word community to just mean children, maybe your parents, and maybe a little bit of a broader community and what you can give back to them. That's kind of a choice that we have as well.
I mean, if I could think, I thought of it slightly differently, right? So when I think of when you wrote about community, I kind of think about it from the point of view like the kind of people we hang out with in the community, right? I don't want to say the word. SES is a very controversial topic as well. But, in some sense, it reflects the community, right? The people you hang out with.
The people your kids hang out with as well. I think
the people
that's what I'm trying to say. The reflection
family.
of, what your kids do, what your parents do is kind of a reflection upon yourself.
So do you feel like this community, which is, the kind of people that, you or your kids or your family hang out with, it's kind of aspirational? Like a lot of Singaporeans do care about the community that they're with?
Yeah. I guess a touchy subject that again you brought up is the SES level. There's a
SES is socioeconomic socioeconomic
status
symbol.
One
symbol.
of them. Yes.
SES. We'll check it and put it in the
notes.
The notes. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess the kind of things, the kind of activities that your kids do as well, is a reflection upon us.
I mean, could you extend it even to like philanthropy work or volunteering work?
Yeah, so that's kind of like the broader community I was talking about. Like, what can you give back to the broader community? It's part of, an aspirational choice as well. I am very passionate about sports, so maybe I can
give to the sports community.
Yeah, or maybe even if there's less privileged people, I can give back in terms of, ensuring they're engaged in sports, it's also a reflection of what you are able to do and what you're able to do for that community, right? It's not always about money again also.
Okay. And I'll just end off with the last C that you mentioned, which I find it a little bit like a convenient last one, which is choices.
I do agree. It's a catch-all.
It's a catch-all, right? So how do we explain it? Like why is choice so important?
I think choice is from an outside perspective. I was more thinking of it from an outside perspective. If someone looks at me and sees the choices I am able to make, that's a reflection of my status or my aspirational level in a way. If I am able to go on frequent holidays,
That's
they
a choice.
know that I have the ability to make this choice. So that must mean I am probably rich enough, have enough money to do it frequently. Where I go to is also a reflection of what I can achieve. So it's kind of a
When
reflection.
you decide to stop work.
Correct. When you decide to stop work. What time sometimes you decide to stop work.
Alright,
If you
okay.
can go just walk out of your work and go to gym at 4 p.m. is a reflection of the choice you have to make as well. It's not
choice
doesn't
you
always
can make.
doesn't always have to be about money. That's what I'm trying to say. It's also a reflection of your lifestyle. If you can make certain lifestyle choices, so maybe if you can work from home 100%, don't have to answer to any boss and still be able to do all of these other things. It's also a reflection. Today we have many friends. I have many friends who are able to do this. It's also a reflection of what they're capable of, what they're able to pull off, right? I think it's a reflection on them as well.
Yeah, I think the autonomy, I think a lot of people today do value the autonomy of, being able to control their life better. I think I'm using a lot of C's. So control their life, and that means they have the ability to make the choice.
Should we change choice to control?
Yeah. I mean, options are, I think for Singaporeans, working class, I'm sure options or the ability to make decisions that we want is something that is valuable to them, whether it's, like what you say, being able to work from home on days that we need to, being able to leave the office a bit earlier, or even having the choice to stop working if we feel like, we are mentally tired or physically.
I mean, I don't know about you, but maybe you're rounding on this topic. But sometimes when I come to work, I leave home about 8:30 to come to work on time. I see some people just taking a jog.
All right.
I'm like, hey, these guys have
a
the
choice
choice
they
to
have.
do it at this time where I have to go to work. Are they living a better aspirational lifestyle than me? Do I aspire to do that? Maybe not when it's hot, but I do wish that I have the autonomy to decide if I want to.
Yeah, I guess it's not so much of whether you can jog at 8 a.m., but rather, having the choice that you want to. That if you want to work at 8 a.m., you can work at 8 a.m. If you want to jog at 8 a.m., you can jog at 8 a.m., right? Yeah, I agree. I just want to add on 2 C's, potentially just to throw you off a little bit.
Sure.
Can I suggest children and CPF as 2 C's that Singaporeans care about?
Okay. I think I've captured children within one of the C's as well already in the community. So maybe we can stretch it out a little bit. We can talk about what our children can do.
Because children are expensive in Singapore.
They're not only expensive, but what they do is a reflection on us in a way as well. That's what I thought about. So I agree. I do agree. CPF is an interesting one.
I just want to put in context. A lot of Singaporeans, I can see it, at the start of every year now, in certain, the Sidley Personal Finance Group, I'm part of the Sidley Personal Finance Group, and you can see people are actually proud to show the interest that they earn from their CPF account, right? To me, I think it's a kind of like a sensitive topic because it's kind of like showing people, because based on the interest, you can calculate how much they have in their retirement saving, right? Which, I'm sure nobody can steal your retirement saving from CPF, but I would think that it's kind of a sensitive topic, but people are actually proud to show, I have this amount of money in my CPF. Why do you think that's the case? And can I make an argument that it's a C that Singaporeans care about?
I'm not sure if it's a C. I didn't think about it that way, but maybe if you make that argument, I don't see why not. I think, to me personally, I think CPF has done a great job in marketing its ability to take care of Singaporeans, especially in our golden years. So I think nowadays we see it more as, the ability to be able to retire well or retire with at least a minimum basic financial safety net. Right? I think in the past, maybe it wasn't.
And I'll say that's important, right? Which is why...
No, it's very important. It's always been important, but the communication has also been important. So maybe, and again, I might be cancelled for saying this, but...
No, I'm sure we'll not be, but...
maybe in the past, people didn't appreciate the
CPF savings.
Yeah, the value of CPF as much, right. And now with the communication, with education, I think Dollars and Sense also writing a fair bit about it. A lot of other publications are also
the
doing
influence,
so.
right? Like people just talking about it, and now it's...
And people are seeing it and realizing, hey, it makes sense, let me beef it up to the point where I'm comfortable living at that minimum financial safety net. And then obviously whatever you want to do outside of CPF is a minimum, I would say. Whatever you want to achieve outside of it should still be, your investments, other retirements.
Yeah. So that's just a consideration. Maybe 5Cs plus the CPF could be a
plus one or two more.
plus CPF. Maybe that could make sense. All right. I think we've have a good discussion. Thanks for sharing your thoughts. And for those of you who are watching or listening, thank you for joining us on the Dollars and Cents podcast. We hope you enjoy this episode. And even if you don't fully agree with everything we say, if possible, leave us your comment. And we hope to catch you again in the next episode. Thank you.